Hi all. In this video session, what we're going to look at is the real wage and its impacts on employment and output. Now, before we understand, or before we go into what the real wage is, let's just define what wages are. When we say wages, we mean money wages, the income that you receive when you work for a firm. Wages can be seen from 2 points of view. It can be a cost to the firm that hires a worker, but it is a reward to laborers for working. Therefore, we can say that a person's real wage is what their money can actually buy. It is their money wage expressed in terms of a unit of a good. For example, if we look at an individual who makes $10,000 and we look at a commodity such as a loaf of bread at $10, we can express this person's income of $10,000 in the units of loaves of bread. And what we will get is 1,000 loaves of bread. Now, this figure was received or calculated by simply taking the money wage of $10,000 and dividing it by the price of the good, which is $10. As a result, 10,000 divided by 10 equals 1,000 units. So we realize that a person's money wage can be expressed in real terms. What is the benefit of this? It's very simple, actually. People want to know what their money can actually buy. People are more concerned about what they can get with their money as opposed to the money value. Because if someone has $1 million and that $1 million can only get you one loaf of bread, then to you that $1 million is not that valuable. So again, real wage helps us to understand exactly what a person can actually afford with their money income. Let's look at a situation where the loaf of bread rises to a price of $20 or $30 to fully understand this concept. It means that the real wage changes to 10,000 because the money wage remains the same. 10,000 divided by a new price of 20, which means that the person can now only receive or acquire 500 units or 500 loaves of bread. We therefore realize that when the price of bread moved from $10 to $20, meaning that the price has increased, while money wage remained the same at $10,000, it resulted in the person only being able to afford now half as much loaves of bread, 500 units, simply because the price of the good increased by $10 to now $20 in all. As a result, we realize that the person's real wage has decreased when the price of the product increased. So that's looking at the real wage from the point of view of the consumer. Let's look at how the firm sees the real wage. The real wage from the point of view of a firm can be assessed from this way. If a firm has a product that costs $5 per unit and they pay their workers a money wage of $500 per day, then the real wage that the firm incurs or that it costs the firm would be $500 money wage divided by $5, which is the price of the units that the firm is producing. What we get is 500 divided by 5 equals $100. Well, 100 units, sorry. So every time the firm pays out $500, it means that they are actually paying out 100 units worth of goods produced. So therefore, we can intuitively determine or realize that a firm would never hire a worker that produces less than 100 units, because a firm is not in the business of making a loss. A firm would, for the least, the firm would stop hiring when a particular worker only contributes 100 units of output. And of course, it's a benefit to the firm if the worker produces more than 100 units of output. Why? Well, let's look at it this way. we see here that the worker produces 100 units per day. Well, sorry, the worker that produces 100 units per day gains a wage of 100 units multiplied by 5 equals 500 units. Now, in the real world, the firm tends to have a flat rate that they pay to their workers at different skill levels and, of course, job descriptions. So, therefore, a group of workers with the same skill and having the same job description will be paid the same wage. So in this case here, this firm pays their workers $500 money wage per day. Hence, if a worker makes 150 units of products for this firm in question, the value of output that that worker generates would be 150 units multiplied by 5, which is the cost per unit, which means that the worker would have contributed $750 worth of output. This is a benefit to the firm, but the firm still only pays out $500 in money wage, as this is the set wage that is offered by the firm. So you realize you can compare it this way. The firm receives a value of output of $750 and pays out a money wage of $500. Or we can look at it from real terms. The firm receives 150 units produced by the worker, but the firm would pay out 100 units in terms of the real wage to the worker. So therefore, 150 is greater than 100. The benefit exceeds the cost of the worker, and we know that this firm will continue to employ this particular worker. This is a benefit. This aspect of the worker producing more than 150 units is a benefit to the firm, but the firm only pays out 500, as this is the set wage that is offered by the firm. Hence, workers that make more than 100 units per day are a premium benefit to the firm. Alright? So this is how the firm internalizes or recognizes the real wage. It's calculated the same way as the money wage divided by the price, but in this case here, the firm will divide it by the price of the product that they are producing, and would assess how much they would pay the worker versus what the worker would contribute to the organization. So the real wage therefore is calculated such as by taking the money wage and dividing it by the price of a good of an individual. And it can therefore be seen, based upon the previous example with the loaves of bread, that when the real wage rises, it can only be done when the prices of goods and services fall within the economy, or when money wage rises at a faster rate than prices. So I'll repeat again. The real wage can rise for an individual. A person can actually afford more with the income that they have when the prices of goods and services fall within the economy, or when the money wage rises at a faster rate than prices. Therefore, now that we have understood what the real wage is, how are wages actually determined? Wage is a price. It is a price that is paid to labor services. And given that wage is a price, it means that it is going to be determined in the free market like any other price in economics. Therefore, we can predict, or we can determine that in the market for labor, there will be a demand for labor curve, and there will be a supply of labor curve. And therefore, where these two curves intersect is going to be called what we know as equilibrium, which will determine a unique price and a unique equilibrium quantity of labor being demanded and labor being supplied. And therefore, as we go on into the next video session, what we're going to look at is we're going to see who demands labor and why, and we're going to determine what the shape of the demand for labor curve is going to look like, and we're going to see who supplies labor and why, and we're going to see the shape of the supply for labor curve, and then we're going to show how when the two curves intersect, how equilibrium is achieved, and therefore equilibrium wage rate and the equilibrium level of employment is determined. So stay tuned for the other video. Thank you.